In the churning chaos where rivers collide with the open sea, something ancient waits beneath the violent surface. Most creatures flee these turbulent waters. One was forged by them, born weak, born disposable, a creature so fragile that 90% never survive their first season. Yet, the few that endure carry something dangerous inside them. Stress does not break them, it rebuilds them. And when the transformation finally comes, it is not gradual, it is catastrophic. This is Gyarados, the serpent of the storm, a living consequence of nature's cruelest and most unforgiving selection pressure. Spawning in sheltered margins. The journey begins far from the turbulence that will define this species. In the still backwaters of river deltas, where current slows to a whisper and sediment settles into soft beds, Magikarp release their eggs by the thousands. These margins are not chosen, they are required. The embryos, developing within each translucent sphere, possess no capacity to withstand mechanical disruption. Even gentle wave action tears the fragile membranes apart. So, the adults seek pockets of absolute calm. Flooded root systems, shallow oxbow lakes, tidal pools shielded by natural barrier stone. Here, in water barely deep enough to submerge them, the spawning adults crowd together and deposit clutches into the soft substrate. The eggs anchor loosely to submerged vegetation and organic debris. For 11 to 14 days, they remain motionless, dependent entirely on stillness. Any unseasonable storm, any sudden flood pulse eliminates entire cohorts within hours. Survival at this stage is not about strength or instinct. It is purely about location. The ones that hatch are not the fittest. They are simply the ones the current never found. Early locomotion and extreme mortality. The hatchlings emerge with almost nothing. Their bodies are small, laterally compressed, and poorly muscled. The iconic red-orange scales offer no meaningful protection from predators or environment. The fins are thin, stiff, and structurally inefficient for any propulsion. Magikarp at this stage swim using a rigid, full-body oscillation, a movement pattern that generates minimal thrust and maximum energy expenditure. They cannot hold position in moving water. They cannot accelerate to escape predators. They cannot navigate toward food sources with any precision. In practical terms, they are drifting. Mortality during the first 60 days often exceeds 90%. Predation accounts for some losses. Larger fish, wading birds, and aquatic insects all consume juvenile Magikarp without effort. But environmental displacement kills far more. A minor current increase pushes them into open water. A temperature shift disrupts the microfauna they depend on. A single rainfall event flushes them downstream into zones they cannot survive. Those that remain do so through chance positioning, not evasion. They linger in the warmest, slowest margins, feeding on microscopic organisms and growing just enough to avoid being swept away. Every day survived is a statistical anomaly, stress accumulation, and neurological escalation. What does not kill the Magikarp begins to change it. Researchers have long observed that individuals raised in perfectly stable environments rarely evolve. Those exposed to repeated sublethal stress almost always do. The mechanism is neurological. Each encounter with turbulence, each failed escape from a predator, each oxygen dip or sudden temperature spike triggers a cascade of hormonal signaling throughout the body. Cortisol analogs flood the bloodstream. neural pathways associated with threat detection strengthen and multiply over time. The brain, still developing, begins allocating disproportionate resources to aggression and reactivity centers. This is not damage, it is preparation. Over months and sometimes years, the magicarp accumulates what biologists refer to as adaptive stress load. The body does not grow dramatically larger during this phase. The fins do not suddenly become powerful. But internally, the nervous system is rewiring itself for a future the organism does not yet possess. Threshold markers begin appearing in blood chemistry. Specific protein expressions shift toward new configurations. The creature becomes increasingly agitated, erratic, and prone to violent bursts of movement that serve no immediate purpose. It is not yet dangerous, but it is no longer passive. Something is building pressure beneath the surface. Structural reinforcement and body elongation. While the nervous system escalates, the body quietly fortifies. The skeletal structure of a late-stage magicarp is remarkably different from its juvenile form. Though external appearance changes little, the spine segments increase in number and density, adding flexibility while distributing mechanical load across a longer axis. Cartilaginous tissue between vertebrae thickens substantially, absorbing impact stress that would fracture a younger specimen. Muscle fibers begin differentiating into distinct functional layers. The outer bands prioritize rapid contraction for burst movement. The deeper inner bands develop slow twitch endurance capacity for sustained effort. Connective tissue, particularly along the lateral line, reinforces into dense collagenous sheaths capable of withstanding extreme tensile force during violent motion. The tail root widens. The jaw hinge strengthens. None of these changes are externally dramatic. A casual observer would still see only a weak, struggling fish incapable of defending itself. But internally, the architecture of a predator is taking shape. This preparatory phase can last 1 to 3 years depending on environmental intensity and stress exposure. The magicarp is not yet transformed, but it is no longer structurally fragile. Its body has become a compressed spring, storing potential energy in every reinforced joint and thickened tendon. It waits now only for the signal to release. Metamorphic threshold and behavioral shift. The transformation is not gradual. It is a detonation. When cumulative stress markers reach critical concentration, a hormonal cascade triggers systemic metamorphosis throughout the entire body. The process takes less than 72 hours. The compact body elongates explosively, stretching to over 6 meters in total length. The skull restructures dramatically, extending forward into a massive jaw lined with fanged ridges designed for seizing prey. Scales harden into armored plating. The feeble fins dissolve completely and regrow as powerful, stabilizing crests. Internal organs shift position to accommodate a radically different respiratory and circulatory demand. The creature that emerges bears no resemblance to what entered. This is Gyarados, and it is furious. The aggression is not incidental. It is biochemically locked into the new neural architecture. The same neural rewiring that enabled survival as a magicarp now floods the evolved brain with hyperactive threat responses. For the first several weeks, the new Gyarados exists in a near constant state of attack readiness. It strikes at movement. It destroys obstacles. It cannot yet regulate its own intensity. Biologists believe this volatile phase serves a critical survival function. A newly transformed Gyarados is still vulnerable to larger marine predators. Its aggression compensates for inexperience. Over time, hormonal regulation stabilizes, but the capacity for explosive violence never disappears. It becomes managed, not erased. High-intensity metabolism and energy lock. In the adult body, operates at punishing metabolic cost. Gyarados maintain an elevated basal temperature, unusual among aquatic species of this scale. Their muscles require constant oxygen perfusion, demanding near-continuous gill movement and active swimming even during periods of rest. Caloric intake must remain extraordinarily high. A fully grown individual consumes between 8 and 12% of its body weight daily, a rate more typical of warm-blooded terrestrial hunters than cold-water serpents. This energy demand is non-negotiable. Unlike species capable of entering torpor during lean periods, Gyarados cannot downregulate their metabolism. Their physiology is locked permanently into high output mode. When prey availability drops or territory quality declines, the consequences arrive quickly. Muscle tissue begins cannibalizing itself within days. Coordination deteriorates noticeably. Aggression becomes erratic rather than targeted. Prolonged caloric deficit leads to catastrophic system failure, often within 2 to 3 weeks. This metabolic rigidity explains their habitat preferences completely. Gyarados do not occupy stable, resource-poor environments. They cannot afford to. They require waterways dense with prey biomass, and they will abandon or destroy any territory that fails to meet their intake threshold. Survival is not about patience. It is about constant, violent abundance. Mastery of turbulent water columns. Where others retreat, Gyarados advances. The body that was forged by stress now exploits it completely. Storm surges, tidal rips, and floodwater outflows create movement conditions lethal to most marine life. Debris tumbles at high velocity, pressure differentials shift unpredictably, visibility drops to near zero. For Gyarados, these are optimal hunting grounds. The elongated spine allows controlled undulation even in chaotic flow, redirecting force rather than absorbing it directly. The reinforced musculature generates propulsion bursts exceeding 50 kilometers per hour, enough to intercept disoriented prey swept suddenly out of shelter. The lateral line system, hyper-developed during the stress accumulation phase, detects pressure changes across the full body length, creating a three-dimensional map of turbulence the creature navigates by feel alone. It does not fight the chaos, it reads it. Gyarados often position themselves at collision points between opposing currents, where turbulence is most intense and prey confusion is highest. They strike from below, using the visual cover of disturbed sediment and aerated water to mask their approach completely. In these violent moments, the weakness of their origin becomes their greatest advantage. The environment that killed so many of their siblings is now the weapon they wield. Territorial control in unstable systems. Traditional territory means nothing to a Gyarados. They do not patrol boundaries. They do not mark substrate. They do not return to fixed dens or shelters. Instead, they dominate movement corridors, the channels, straits, and estuary mouths where water and prey flow in concentrated volume. Control is asserted through presence and destruction alone. When a Gyarados occupies a waterway, other large predators leave. Not because of scent marking or ritual display, but because confrontation with this species is almost always fatal. The few challengers that engage are met with overwhelming force, thrashing attacks that target the head and gill structures, ending disputes before they can escalate into prolonged conflict. This is not defense, it is monopolization. A single adult can suppress predator diversity across an entire river system simply by existing there. Subordinate species adjust their activity patterns completely, feeding only when the Gyarados moves elsewhere. The ecological effect is profound and far-reaching. By refusing static territory and instead controlling transitional zones, Gyarados shape the behavior of every creature that must pass through. They are not guarding a home, they are holding a choke point, reproductive timing, and juvenile bottlenecks. Breeding creates a fundamental contradiction. The adults require turbulence. The offspring cannot survive it. Gyarados resolve this by spawning only during rare intervals of environmental calm, seasonal lulls between monsoon cycles, the brief stillness before a pressure system arrives, windows measured in days, sometimes only hours. During these periods, adults abandon their corridor territories and migrate to the same sheltered margins where their own lives began. Aggression dampens noticeably, movement slows. Pairs form temporarily, releasing eggs into the protected shallows before withdrawing completely. The adults do not guard the clutch. They cannot. Their presence alone generates enough water displacement to endanger the developing embryos. And so they leave, returning immediately to turbulent zones, abandoning their offspring to the same brutal filtration that shaped them. Most will die. The margins will claim the weak, the unlucky, the poorly positioned. Only the fraction that survive long enough to accumulate their own stress load will ever reach transformation. The cycle completes not through nurture, but through relentless selection. Ecological role as regulator and disruptor. Gyarados exist at the center of a profound ecological paradox. They regulate prey populations, preventing any single species from overwhelming the shared resources of their habitat. Their hunting pressure maintains diversity in the food web below them. Yet, their presence also destabilizes. When Gyarados concentrate in a waterway, smaller predators vanish entirely, allowing certain prey species to explode unchecked until the serpents move on to new hunting grounds. When they abandon a region, the sudden vacuum triggers cascading competition among species that had suppressed their activity for years. Remove them entirely, and systems collapse into monotony. Overpopulate them, and systems collapse into scarcity. They are not simply apex predators, they are oscillators, forces that prevent equilibrium from settling too long in any single direction. The turbulent waters that created them now depend on them to remain turbulent. A living engine of instability, a necessary violence written permanently into the ecology itself.